Maybe you grabbed the counter in time. Maybe the wall was close enough. Maybe you caught yourself and stood there for a moment, heart hammering, trying to laugh it off. But deep down, in a place you do not talk about out loud, something shifted that day. Something that has not quite settled back into place since. There is a moment. A single, ordinary moment. You are walking through your own home, a place you know by heart. A place where every corner, every doorway, every step is as familiar to you as your own reflection.
What if I told you there's one simple exercise that works over 25 muscles of the body at once? In fact, it's one of my favorites, certainly for my over 50 clients, because it's so functional and so effective. And I actually recommend it to anybody who wants to build real strength and fitness in just one exercise, simply because it works. With the right tweaks, it's safe, it's simple, it carries over directly into real life.
And then it happens. Your foot shifts, just slightly. Just a fraction of an inch in the wrong direction. And for one breathless second, your body does not respond the way it should. No catch, no correction. Just that horrible sinking feeling of the ground pulling away from you. That is not clumsiness. That is not just getting older. That is your body sending you a signal. And most people over 60 never learn what that signal actually means until the moment it is too late to do anything about it. I am going to tell you what it means today. Right now, there is something happening inside your body that nobody warned you about. Not your doctor at your last checkup. Not the pamphlet they handed you at the pharmacy. Not the well-meaning advice from a family member who told you to just be more careful. None of them told you about the one reflex that stands between you and a fall that could change the entire direction of your life.
The most important exercise for preventing falls takes less than 2 minutes, and almost nobody over 60 is doing it. So if falling over is your biggest fear right now, this is the video that changes that forever. When most people work on their balance, they just practice standing on one leg. But that's one of the least effective ways to actually prevent falls. Because falls don't happen when you're stood still, they happen when you lose your balance and you can't correct yourself.
And here is what keeps me up at night thinking about this. The people who need this information the most are the ones least likely to have heard it. Because this reflex does not announce itself when it starts to fade. There is no pain, no warning, no obvious sign that anything is wrong. It just quietly disappears, day by day, year by year, until one ordinary morning in one ordinary kitchen, the ground moves and your body simply does not respond in time. That is what I want to talk about today. Not because I want to frighten you. I want you to feel the opposite of frightened by the time we are done here. I want you to feel like someone finally handed you the piece of the puzzle that has been missing. Because in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly what this reflex is, exactly why it fades after 60, and exactly what one simple daily exercise can do to bring it back stronger than it has been in years. Hi viewers, I have a quick question for you before we go any further, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments right now. Have you ever had a close call, a stumble, a near fall in your own home? Yes or no? That is all, just yes or no in the comments below. You would be amazed how many people are carrying that same quiet experience and never saying a word about it. Now, let me tell you something that most people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s do not know about their own bodies. You were born with a reflex, a built-in, automatic, brilliantly designed reflex that exists for one purpose and one purpose only, to catch you before you fall. It lives in your feet, specifically in your toes, and when everything is working the way it should, the moment your body begins to tip too far in any direction, that reflex fires instantly. Your toes grip the floor, your muscles engage. Your body pulls itself back to center before your brain has even had time to process what is happening. It is faster than thought. It is faster than fear. It is your body protecting itself the way it was always meant to. But here is where the story changes. After decades of cushioned shoes and flat, predictable surfaces and long hours spent sitting, that reflex begins to lose its edge. The muscles weaken, the nerves grow slower. The signal that used to travel like lightning starts to travel like a letter lost in the mail. And one day, without any warning, you take a step you have taken 1,000 times before, and the reflex that was supposed to fire simply does not. Not because you are broken, not because your body has given up on you, but because no one ever told you it needed to be trained.
A recent study revealed that losing leg strength after 50 is one of the biggest causes of falls, disability, and mobility issues for older adults. But the good news is that with just 10 minutes a day, you can rebuild your leg strength, helping you walk longer, climb stairs easily, and continue to do what you love doing. In this video, I'm going to take you through a simple 10-minute routine with science-backed exercises that I give to 90% of my patients.
Think about that for a second. You train your mind, you train your habits. People spend years building routines around their health. And yet, this one reflex, the one that could be the single most important physical function you have after 60, gets no attention at all until the fall. And here's the part that stopped me cold when I first came across the research on this. The decline of this reflex does not happen all at once. It is gradual, invisible. It erodes in small percentages over long stretches of time, which means most people are already operating with a significantly weakened fall prevention reflex right now, today, and they feel completely fine. They feel steady. They feel capable, right up until the moment they do not. That quiet gap between feeling fine and being fine is exactly where falls happen, and I am not willing to let that be your story. By the time this episode is over, you are going to understand this reflex in a way that will change how you think about every single step you take. You are going to know why the most common balance advice most people follow is almost entirely wrong. And you are going to have one simple, powerful daily exercise that takes less than 2 minutes and directly rebuilds the very reflex your body has been quietly losing. Stay with me, because what comes next is the part almost no one talks about, and it is the part that changes everything. Let me tell you something that the statistics do not prepare you for. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death among adults over 65. Not heart disease, not stroke, falls. And yet, when most people hear that number, they nod politely and move on. Because a fall sounds manageable. A fall sounds like something that happens to someone else, someone less careful, someone less aware, not you, not in your own home, not on a Tuesday morning walking to the kitchen to make coffee. But here is what that statistic does not tell you. It does not tell you about the months of recovery that follow, the surgeries, the rehabilitation, the slow, grinding process of relearning movements that used to be automatic. It does not tell you about the fear that settles in afterward, the way a person starts measuring every room, every step, every surface differently once a fall has happened. And it does not tell you about the quiet loss of independence that sometimes follows, the reluctant conversation with family, the changes to living arrangements that nobody wanted to make. That is the real cost of a fall, and it starts long before the fall itself. It starts with the reflex. Here is what I need you to understand about how this works inside the body. Your nervous system is constantly collecting information. Every second of every day, the nerves in your feet are sending signals upward, telling your brain exactly where you are in space, exactly how your weight is distributed, exactly how much correction is needed to keep you upright. Scientists call this proprioception, your body's internal GPS. When you are young, this system is sharp, precise, automatic. But after decades of walking on flat, predictable, cushioned surfaces, the system gets lazy. It stops being challenged. And like any system that goes unchallenged for long enough, it begins to dull. The signals slow down, the response time stretches, and the margin between a stumble and a fall quietly narrows without you ever feeling it happen. Think of it this way. Imagine a smoke alarm with a battery that has been slowly draining for years. The alarm is still there. The wiring is intact. Everything looks exactly the way it is supposed to look. But when smoke fills the room, the alarm does not go off. Not because it is broken beyond repair, because it was never maintained. That is what happens to the fall prevention reflex after 60. And here is the part that genuinely unsettles me every time I think about it. Most people will never know their reflex has weakened until the exact moment they need it most. There is no test at your annual checkup. There is no symptom, no pain, no gradual warning that announces itself and gives you time to prepare. The first real warning most people get is the fall itself. But you are not most people, because you are still here, still listening. And that means you still have time. The question is what you do with it. Now, I want to address something directly, because if you have ever Googled balance exercises or watched a video about fall prevention, You have almost certainly been given the same advice. Stand on one leg, hold it for 10 seconds, repeat. Maybe try it with your eyes closed if you are feeling ambitious. And I understand why that advice exists. It sounds logical.
And when you start to wobble or lose your balance, your foot muscles will instinctively switch on to try to make your toes grab the ground. And this grabbing helps to pull you back into a balanced position. But the problem is, most people have lost so much connection to these little muscles that this reflex barely works for them anymore. It's like trying to switch on a light when someone has cut the circuit. Nothing happens. But unlike an electrical circuit, you can rebuild this connection, and that's the good news.
If balance is the problem, practice balancing. Simple enough. But it is wrong. Not partially wrong, fundamentally wrong. And here is why. Standing still on one leg does not replicate the conditions under which falls actually happen. Falls do not happen when you are standing perfectly still in your living room with your full attention on your feet. Falls happen in motion. They happen in transition. They happen in the split second when your weight shifts unexpectedly and your body has to decide in a fraction of a moment whether to correct or collapse. That is a completely different physical demand, and training stillness does not prepare you for it. Let me walk you through how a fall actually unfolds, because most people have never thought about the mechanics of it. It does not begin with a dramatic trip. It begins with a micro shift, a tiny, almost imperceptible change in your center of gravity. Your foot comes down a centimeter to the left of where your brain expected it to land. The edge of a rug catches your heel. The floor is slightly more slick than you anticipated. In that instant, your body has a window, a very small window, to recognize the shift and correct it. If the reflex is sharp, it fires. Your toes grip. Your ankle adjusts. Your core engages. You do not even notice it happened. If the reflex is dull, it hesitates. And that hesitation, measured in fractions of a second, is the entire difference between catching yourself and going down. This is stage one. The reflex is weakening, but you feel nothing unusual. Maybe the occasional wobble, a moment where you reach for a wall out of habit. Nothing alarming. Then comes stage two. The near misses begin. The stumble in the hallway you caught just in time. The step off the curb that felt wrong for just a moment. The reach for something on a shelf that sent a flicker of unsteadiness through your whole body. These moments get quietly filed away, laughed off, attributed to tiredness or distraction. But they are not tiredness, they are a signal. And then there is stage three, which I will not linger on because if you are listening to this, we are not going to let you get there. Here is what I want you to hear right now. If you have had a near miss recently, your body was not failing you in that moment. It was warning you, and the fact that you caught yourself means the reflex is still there. It is weakened, but it is still there, and what is still there can be rebuilt. That is not optimism, that is biology. The nervous system responds to challenge. It always has. And the right exercise, done consistently and correctly, sends a direct signal to that dulling reflex and wakes it back up. Not in months, not after some complicated program, beginning from the very first session. The question now is which exercise, and exactly how to do it. Here is where everything changes. The exercise is called the toe lean. And before you dismiss it, because the name sounds simple, I need you to understand something. Simple is not the same as easy, and simple is not the same as ineffective. The toe lean is the single most direct, research-supported way to retrain the exact reflex your body has been quietly losing. Not because it builds muscle in the traditional sense, but because it forces your nervous system to practice the precise action it needs to perform in the moment before a fall occurs. Let me explain what it actually does. When you lean forward from your ankles, your body begins to move outside its base of support. Your center of gravity shifts, and in that moment, your toes are supposed to respond. They are supposed to grip the floor, generate force, and pull your body back to center. That is the reflex. And every single time you practice the toe lean correctly, you are not just exercising your feet. You are retraining the neural pathway that connects your toes to your brain's balance response system. You are essentially redialing a number your body forgot it knew. Here is how to do it safely. Find the corner of a room where two walls meet. Stand facing into the corner so that both walls are directly in front of you on either side. This is your safety net. If you lean too far forward, the walls are there. You are not going to fall. Place a sturdy chair just in front of you as an additional anchor if that helps you feel more secure. Stand with your feet a few inches apart, back straight, chin up, shoulders relaxed and down. Now lean, not from your waist, not from your hips, from your ankles. Your entire body moves forward as one unit, like a single plank slowly tipping. As you lean, you will feel your toes begin to press into the floor. If you are barefoot, that sensation is even stronger. And barefoot is ideal because it maximizes the sensory feedback your brain receives from the ground beneath you. Before you tip far enough that you have to step forward, let those toes pull you back to center. That is 1 repetition.
So all we're going to do now is stand with your feet pretty close together but not touching, and then keep your back up nice and tall and gently lean forward. Okay? And if you're barefoot, what you'll feel is your toes are having to grab the ground really quickly to stop you from tipping. Now, before you start to tip over and have to step forward, I want you to use those toes to pull yourself back into a balanced position. So we're going to go forward like this, wait until the toes kick in, and then bring ourselves back like that.
Do 10 in a row. Come back to this 2 or 3 more times throughout your day. Not all at once. Spread across the morning and afternoon, while your coffee brews, before a meal, during a commercial break. This distributed approach is not just convenient. Research supports it as more effective for rebuilding reflex response than doing all your repetitions in one sitting. Once 10 feels manageable, hold a light weight against your chest. Even 2 or 3 pounds makes your toes work significantly harder. That progressive challenge is what accelerates the rebuilding process. Now, alongside the toe lean, there are 2 additional movements that complete what I call your daily balance foundation. The first is side-to-side weight shifting. Stand behind a sturdy chair with both hands lightly resting on the back. Slowly shift your weight to your right foot until your left foot barely lifts from the floor. Hold for 3 seconds, then shift to the left. That is 1 repetition. Do 10 on each side. This trains your hips and ankles to communicate with each other in real time, which is exactly what they need to do when your weight shifts sideways unexpectedly.
Nice job. Now let's work out your hips. Hold the chair with one hand and stand on your left leg. Slowly lift your right leg to the side, then lower it back down. This strengthens our gluteus medius, a key muscle for stability when walking or climbing stairs. Not only that, we are also going to improve our balance. For a seated version, lift one knee slightly and move your leg side to side like a windshield wiper.
The second is the sit to stand without hands. Sit at the edge of a firm chair. Cross your arms over your chest. Lean slightly forward from your hips and push through your heels to stand fully upright. Then lower yourself back down slowly and with complete control. Do not drop. Control the descent. That lowering phase builds the eccentric muscle strength that stabilizes you every time your foot makes contact with the ground. 8 repetitions to start. Add more as you grow stronger. These 3 movements together take less than 10 minutes a day. But here is what that 10 minutes actually does inside your body. Every repetition sends a signal through your nervous system, a clear, repeated, consistent signal that says, this pathway matters. Keep it sharp. Keep it ready. And over days and weeks of consistent practice, your nervous system listens. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain and your body rewiring themselves in response to repeated challenge. It does not stop at 60. It does not stop at 70 or 80 either. The capacity to adapt, to rebuild, to reconnect weakened pathways remains available to you for as long as you are willing to use it. That is not a small thing. That is everything. But there is one mistake that quietly undoes all of this progress, and almost nobody talks about it. The mistake is stopping on the good days. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but it is the single most common reason people plateau, regress, and eventually find themselves back where they started. On the days when you feel steady, when the floor feels solid beneath you and your body feels capable and confident, those are the days the exercises feel unnecessary. Those are the days it is easiest to skip, and those are the most important days of all. Here is why. The reflex you are rebuilding does not maintain itself passively. It requires ongoing input, ongoing challenge. Every time you practice, You are not just building strength in the moment, you are sending a signal to your nervous system that this pathway is still in use, that it still matters, that it should remain sharp and ready. When you stop, even for a few days, that signal fades. Not dramatically, not in a way you will feel right away, but quietly, gradually, the same way it faded in the first place. And the days you feel most confident are the days your body is most tempted to coast on that confidence rather than maintain the work that created it. So, the habit matters as much as the exercise. Tie these movements to something that already exists in your day. The toe lean while your coffee brews, the weight shifts during the first commercial break after lunch, the sit to stands before your evening meal. When you attach a new behavior to an existing one, it stops requiring willpower. It becomes automatic. And automatic is exactly what you need a fall prevention habit to be. Now, before I close, I want to speak directly to the people listening to this, not for themselves, but for someone they love. Maybe it is a parent, a partner, a sibling who has already had a scare and is now more cautious than they used to be, more hesitant at doorways, more careful on steps. If that person is in your life, this conversation matters just as much to you as it does to them. Here's one thing you can do today. Not tomorrow, today. Share this episode with them, and then, if you can, do the toe lean together. Stand in a corner side by side and try it. Make it something shared rather than something prescribed. Because the research on this is very clear. People who exercise with a partner, even occasionally, are significantly more consistent over time than people who exercise alone. You are not just sharing an episode, you are potentially changing the trajectory of someone's next year. Think about what independence actually means to the person in your life who is over 60. It is not just about physical safety. It is about walking to the mailbox without hesitation. It is about hosting family without worrying about navigating the kitchen. It is about stepping outside on a winter morning and trusting that your body will hold you. That trust, once lost, is very hard to rebuild without the right tools. These are the right tools. Let me bring everything together before we close. Your body was built with a reflex specifically designed to prevent falls. It lives in your feet, in the connection between your toes and the floor, and in the neural pathway that connects that grip to your brain's balance response. After decades of cushioned shoes, flat surfaces, and too much sitting, that reflex weakens silently and without warning. Most people do not know it is gone until the moment they need it, and it does not come. The toe lean, combined with side-to-side weight shifts and controlled sit-to-stands, directly retrains that reflex. Not in theory, in practice. In the actual neural language your nervous system understands. Done daily, in small, consistent doses tied to your existing routine, these movements rebuild the connection your body needs to protect you automatically in the split second that matters most. 2 minutes a day, that is all it takes to begin. Not to be fearless, but to be ready. And if you are ready to take this further, I want you to stay with me, because the next episode is going to cover something that doubles the effectiveness of everything we talked about today. Most people focus entirely on balance and completely ignore the second half of the fall prevention equation: leg strength. And the research on this is staggering. Adults with weak legs are more than 5 times more likely to experience a serious fall in any given year compared to those with strong legs. 5 times. And the specific leg strengthening method I am going to walk you through next requires no equipment, no gym, and no experience. Just your own body and less than 15 minutes. If you thought today's episode was valuable, what comes next is going to change the way you think about your legs, your stability, and your independence for good. Do not miss it.